availability of water is a very easy thing for you runners?
During the marathon it is, Bill. They have, in Boston, they had water / Gatorade, whichever you would choose. On one side, like, you know, on the right side might have been water, up a little ways, left side was Gatorade. So you can kind of pick and choose, or you can mix it if you like. Almost every mile, I believe, in Boston. So it was really nice that, you know, you come close, you know that if you don't take water this mile, the next mile they'll have water or Gatorade for you. So, you know, you have to learn to kind of take that cup and squeeze it, and if you don't want to stop, which I don't want to stop, you know, and just kind of sip it and run a little bit and take another sip, and then you throw the cup down. And, you know, my hat's off to all those volunteers in Boston. Unbelievable.
It's a big logistical matter to get those things organized.
Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine what they go through.
Just the cup picking up would be a big job.
Exactly. So they, you know, they said before they started the race in Boston, which, and this is for any marathon actually, if there's one thing you do, they ask you to thank at least one volunteer. And I'll tell you what, at the end of the race, when I had that frog in my throat and I crossed the finish line and all I wanted was my medal, you know, and the first thing they gave me was like a Gatorade, and I said, thank you, and then the next thing I got was a little thing to wrap around me, you know, in case you're cold or whatever. And then I was thinking, where is my medal? I can't wait to get my medal. And as the whole time I'm going along thanking all these people, finally I got my medal, and I said, thank you so much.
Oh, yeah.
So, but, you know, to thank all those volunteers is just absolutely unbelievable what they do. So I made a point to thank more than one person because I can't even imagine, you know, what they go through to clean up after a race like that. Like you said, picking up all the cups and that. Because usually you just
Tell me about
throw 'em
Heartbreak Hill. Did you experience any difficulty running up Heartbreak Hill?
You know, Bill, I was worried about Heartbreak Hill. Okay, so my brother-in-law kind of took me for a drive the night before. Okay, so kind of drove, and I said, "This is Heartbreak Hill, really?" You know, because I train on hills. Hill training is very important for runners because on flats, if you do hill training, it makes, you know, you go a little bit faster when you're on those flats. I had been hill training.
Where did you find a hill here? I mean, Elkhart, but...
Well, not huge hills, but the hills I train on are outside of Atlanta, like I said. And the hills I do aren't, you know, real steep, but the thing is I do them out and back, you know, so I do them 4 miles out, 4 miles back, so they're back-to-back hills. So there's really not a lot of break in between the hills. So, and sometimes I'll just do, you know, hill, run up, run down, run up, run down. So, but Heartbreak Hill, as you were talking about, when you get to the top of Heartbreak Hill, of course, you have all these people hollering at you, you know. Reason why they call it Heartbreak Hill isn't because it's so steep. It's because of where it is in the race. I believe it was around mile 17 or 18 is where Heartbreak Hill is. That's where your body kind of starts to say, okay, I've kind of had enough of this. I'm about ready, you know, to be finished with this race. So that's why they call it Heartbreak Hill, is because of where it's situated in the race. So get to the top of it and you think, you know, I'm at mile 17 or 18, and, you know, it's kind of downhill from there. The uphill isn't what got me. It was a lot of the downhills training. So if I did Boston again, I'd do a lot more downhill training. The downhills they're painful. The downhills are
Is
painful.
that right?
Yeah.
The legend on that Heartbreak Hill is that the same Jack Kelly, who had a very famous daughter, 648-5510. She moved out of the country, by the way, later on when she got married. Boy, if that isn't a coup, I never heard one.
Yeah, right.
In any event, the story on that I read is that this same Jack Kelly, as he was passing another participant on Heartbreak Hill, kind of gave him a solicitous pat on the back and went ahead. And they were the leaders at that time. And that just so enthused the guy who received the pat on the back that he dug in and passed Jack Kelly, and indeed won the marathon.
Right.
And so they said that broke Jack Kelly's heart. They call it Heartbreak Hill. That's the legend.
Oh, well, that makes as much sense as anything else, you know.
Yeah, they have shirts that say, you know, Heartbreak Hill, I made it to Heartbreak Hill, all kinds of things out there. So you know, that's a big thing for people to say, oh, I made it to the top of Heartbreak Hill, but it's really not that steep of a hill. So
running downhill is harder than running up, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's harder on the legs and the shins.
It is, yeah. For me, that's what did me in. I mean, it didn't do me in, but that's where I felt it more, is on the downhill. So, and it's pretty much downhill after Heartbreak Hill, on into
Literally.
Boston, on into the city, right?
Do you think that you talked about they'll offer you either water or Gatorade, whatever you choose? Do you think that all these sports drinks, Gatorade, et cetera, are that advantageous? They are so ishy, is the reason I have.
Well, I think for anyone that's going to be exercising any longer than 2 hours, I think a little bit of the sports drink is important because they do have the electrolytes in there that you need, that your body craves, because you sweat a lot when you work out, when you're exercising for a long period of time. So I do believe a little bit of, those drinks are beneficial. For me, I don't take in a whole lot of those drinks. I prefer to take in, they make little jelly beans now. I believe they're made by Jelly Belly that have electrolytes in them.
Really?
And for me, those are easier for me to put in my mouth. I carry them in my little pocket I have in my running shorts or pants or whatever. And I pop one of those once in a while with some water as I stop at water stations. That works better for me than the Gatorade. But you do need those electrolytes. Otherwise you might cramp up. Your body craves those electrolytes as you're exercising, I guess, for longer than 2 hours. Now, for kids that are buying the drinks or people that are drinking these drinks just on a regular basis and are not exercising, no, that's not beneficial at all. As a matter of fact, they're loaded with carbohydrates and they're not very good for you. So
You've heard it from the expert.
That's right. I would.
Are you ready to you ready to sign up now? And you could start.
Well, that'd be a challenge for her.
We appreciate very much really appreciate you spending this time with us, Jacki.
Thanks
we know
for
that you
asking
have
me.
clients to get to, and we need to observe the deadline here. We always try to close Viewpoint with some sort of a quotation, and it seems a little bit appropriate this morning to quote the coach, Mike Ditka. And Mike says, "You will never be a loser until you quit trying." Thank you for Viewpoint. Thank you, Jacki.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Jacki.